Welcome everyone to Season 8 and the Week 1 recap of RSCast. Now, it's not a Monday night without Hopek, so I had to do his intro. But tonight you're stuck with three of us. It's myself, Barmanitan, and Boopy. How are you guys?
Great to be here. Great to get back into it. First one of Season 8. There's going to be so many more coming along the way as well.
Yeah, wonderful to be here. It's going to be a really good one. First RSCast of the season. And yeah, I'm hyped to be on it.
Yeah, we have some juicy content this week. Obviously, it's the first week of us going through our premiere tier with the results. I'm surprised to say I was surprised with the results as well. Literally no sweeps in that this week. And also, we've got the new Fantasy League as well that is new to RSC. A little mini game for us all this season, and we have the leaderboards ready this week for RSCast. So why don't we just hop straight into Prospect? And let's take a look at these results now.
Sounds good.
In Glacis, we kind of got the what we expected with Kindling and Cardinals and Exelon in the top three. But what about Terra in the Ignis Conference?
Yeah, they really took off to a very strong start after being predicted so low because, we weren't too sure what their availability was going to be, what their commitment issues were going to be, but they've stormed out of the gates, 2-3-1 wins, and great way to start it off with a bang at that 6-2 scoreline.
Yeah, 100%, and it looks a little topsy-turvy in Ignis right now with the results. I mean, the teams we predicted to be low are all like third to mid-table right now, and BP, I just want you to talk about the results from teams like Prelude and Overturn this week.
Yeah, I mean, solid stuff from them. Prelude predicted 6th and Overturn predicted 8th, and they find themselves 3rd and 4th at the moment. Prelude is a bit of an interesting one. They do find themselves 3rd, but they did get a forfeit win in this week, so that kind of helped them on their way up the table. But yeah, not really what you expected as well. With Terra, as you said earlier, predicted 7th coming in top. And the only 2 games they really lost this week were sub games. So, yeah, really not what we expected in Ignis this week.
Yeah, and talking about expectations, like we said earlier, we kind of expected Kindling, Exelon, and Cardinals to be up there in the Prospect Glacis conference. All sit in the top 3. Kindling going 6-2 this week and actually beating Exelon, which is a huge result for them. Is there any other teams in Glacis that have tickled your fancy this week in week 1?
I mean, they didn't do too well, considering that they got swept by Exelon, but that 2-2 draw against the Cardinals from the Gemini Storm, it's a handy result for them coming in as the bottom predicted team, and to go toe-to-toe with one of those higher-end teams of the Glacis Conference, hopefully they'll be able to take some confidence from that and try and push on in their season and not look too heavily at that 4 sweep against one of the really good sides, Exelon, and yeah, hopefully they can try and find some consistency here.
Okay, yeah, Monk is on hotspot tonight, so that might be the reason behind his laggy voice sometimes. He has had to move his setup tonight. But yeah, we will head on to the Prospect Glacis standings, and as we were talking about, Kindling, Cardinals, Exelon in the top 3. The team that was surprising this week was Bing. We did predict them to be 5th, and they've had a solid 5-3 week this week, Booper.
Yeah, they have. They do find themselves 4th. they did win only one. I think they drew the other series, and yeah, solid goals for, solid goals against as well. Pretty standard stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main team that would be disappointed this week in prospect Glacis is Oberon. They were predicted to be around 4th, and they found themselves in 7th in week 1. Obviously, not to be too disheartened in the first week, but as we move on to the Ignis standings, what can you tell me, Monk?
Well, there were some topsy-turvy results, as you say, of course. Terra at the top of your screens at that 6-2, but tied on wins with the Mages, who we did think would do pretty well, and they've followed through on that at least. And yeah, I think it's those are your early pace setters in the Ignis, and although it's only week 1, every team's pretty close to them, only 1 or 2 wins behind, down to 6th. You always want to try and start out the best that you can, and it could be very, very difficult for any of these other teams to try and catch Terra or Mages.
Yeah, we did guess Mages to be quite high in a solid start, but one prediction we did get right is Digestive's forfeiting series throughout the season. They did forfeit 1 series this week and found themselves 1 and 7, but it's looking very close between 1st and 8th, and I think Fearless Bravo will be very disappointed with this start in week 1 as well. We did predict them to be quite high this season. So again, not to be too disheartened, but yeah, they'll be looking to kick on in next week. And speaking of next week's fixtures, here we are. And Boopy, what can you pick out as the main games this week?
Well, the main one I'll be definitely wanting to see from Glacis is Kindling versus Exelon. That's going to be a huge match, number 1 versus number 3. And both solid teams, both from solid franchises, good reputations, good rosters. And yeah, I think that's going to be a really, really exciting matchup to watch.
These are the results, I think. This is the teams who played this week, I think.
Kindling has played Exelon.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so...
It is, yeah.
Oh, no.
This is what happens when you do a 12-hour shift and you get the graphics sent to you without being able to check them. So thank you, Senji's code. Obviously, these fixtures are last week's. So let's move on to Challenger, and hopefully the rest of them are correct. At least the first 3 graphics are right. So here we go. Challenger week 1 results, and Boopy, I'll let you continue this one.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I definitely have to mention Epsilon. Having an 8-0 week this week. They're one of 3 teams in the whole of RSC to do that as well, have that 8-0 week. Predicted 3rd, obviously coming in 1st in the standings, which is solid. But having said that, they did face the teams we predicted 8th and 9th. So it was an 8-0 week from them, but it was kind of an easy week for them. But another team as well is Satellite. They had a good week. They had a nice 4-0, and they took a game off Chorus, who won the preseason Challenger tournament. They were predicted 9th, but at the moment in Ignis they find themselves 4th. So
yeah, it was a positive week from Satellite. I know B-Shape wasn't too happy at our prediction. Just going back to Epsilon, we did see a stream game in week 1 with a Smurf player that we caught out, and that game had to be replayed. I think they lost. Did they lose that game 4-0 on stream initially, or 3-1, and then they replayed and won 4-0? So they'll be hugely satisfied. Yeah, that they're top as well. But Monk, I'll pass over to you. Yahoo beating Scorn. They were the early pace setters in pre-season tournament. They did win a lot of games until the final. And we expected them to finish 1st, and they made a huge statement against Scorn, didn't they?
Yeah, certainly a great win for them, and the other one against the Crusaders. Both of Crusaders and Scorn were predicted pretty highly up in that upper half, so Yahoo will take plenty of confidence from those, and that 1st place prediction, and the winning prediction, of course, overall. But maybe picked out to be the slightly stronger conference, but in the Challenger, at least, the Nezuko Gang and the Spark both fell in their cross-conference games, so Ignis trying to take control of those matches early on as well.
Yeah, and as we go into Ignis, BP, Pyromancers and Neptunium, the early pace setters, along with Chorus, those were the top three predictions.
They were the top three. They find themselves in the top three as well, not specifically in order. Pyromancers coming out on top were predicted third, but a good week from Pyromancers and Neptunium, both 7-1. So only dropping that one game this week. Obviously, coming out in a tiebreaker, the top spot coming down to goal difference. And yeah, solid week for them. Chorus as well, winning preseason, and rightly so. They find themselves third, 6-2 week, and solid stuff from them.
Yeah, definitely solid stuff. And as we move into Glacis, solid stuff from Epsilon. We've already said they went 8-0 this week, but we're looking at a mid-table battle already with a few of these teams from 3rd to 7th. Very close week in Glacis. Can you expand, Monk?
I would like to if I could get some standings, but unfortunately they're not here. I could try and find some standings where you could talk about them quickly, but
I've got So interesting stuff in Glacis. We have third, fourth, and fifth in a three-way tie. All of them having 4 games won, 4 games lost, and then we have Spark and Score on sixth and seventh on 3-5. So, you're only really 2 games away from going from seventh up to third, and really, really tight stuff in that conference. As we say, every single game matters, and a game swinging either way for each for one of those teams in these in the mid table there will push them really high up in the standings.
Yeah, 100%. And it'll be the same story for Ignis. I'll keep with you, BP, seeing as Monk doesn't have the graphic. What can you tell us about Ignis?
If you want. No,
Okay, go ahead.
I will go ahead, and yeah, we move over to the fire side of the tier, and we see Pyromancers and Neptunium doing very well at the top, 7-1. We didn't see any team go 7-1 in Prospect, but Challenger we have some slightly stronger teams at the top on both sides, and Pyromancers and Neptunium, they were predicted in the top 3. They finished in the top 3 course as well, but you're also looking at that satellite, of course. Bishik wasn't happy with his prediction. He's proved us wrong, got himself into this 5-3 situation and into one of those top 4 spots.
Top 4 indeed, and we'll head over to the minor week 1 results. As I said, the fixtures are bugged this week. So, BP, will go over to you. What can you tell us from the Glacis conference in minor?
Well, again, I have to mention Hydra. Insane performance from them. They were predicted 9th on the stream on the last RSCast, but they find themselves first with an 8-0 week. Not only that, they did beat Arena Tribe, the predicted first as well, and they swept Erebos on stream yesterday as well. So a really, really strong showing from them. Not only that, they have an amazing goal difference, the best in minor as well. 14 goal difference, 25 goals for, and 11 against, which shows they can really score a lot of goals and lock down their defense and make sure they're not really going to get scored on. But we were talking earlier about kind of ties and stuff. It's interesting in Glacis because we have Safari and Toxin second and third, both on 6-2. And then we have Yoruba and Ember both 4-4. So again, as we were saying before, a couple of games and you will shoot up really high in those standings.
Yeah, and what about Safari's results this season? This season in week 1, Monk, because we just spoke about Hydra being predicted 9th, but Safari as well, they were predicted 8th as well. And they've shocked everyone this week.
Yeah, another team that have defied the odds in their prediction, and maybe as little as that means, it still bolsters your confidence if you take that 8th place prediction and go on to go 6-2 against one of those top teams as well in Arena Tribe and a sweep. We don't overall see too many sweeps in RC, so it's always a really, really good achievement when you get it done, and yeah, great way to get your season off to a great start.
Yeah, and Boopy, we'll head to the Ignis conference. Sorcerers with a solid 5-3 in week one. They were the pace setters that we said would be in the power rankings, but I want to look at Overkill. They didn't have a very good season last week in minor. I think they finished bottom in the conference. Brandau and DP are back again with 2 new players, and all of a sudden they found themselves 6-2 and top of the league.
Yeah, 6-2, winning both of their series this week. Played against Fearless Echo and Montbellard. Belliard. Sorry, I'm bad at saying all of the Ox names, but yeah, they had a little bit of an easy week. They did play against predicted 9th and predicted 6th, but fair play to them. They were predicted 8th and they find themselves top. So they really have showed that they can take those victories against kind of the mid-table teams, but it just comes to show in the weeks. What I'd like to see in the weeks coming forward is, can they really take those wins against the teams we kind of picked out as the dangerous teams that could potentially take the tier. They have had good results against, obviously, 6th and 9th predicted, but would they have the same fate against Sorcerers, Uranum, Concerto, teams of that kind of caliber?
Yeah, you can only beat what's in front of you, and that's what Custard Creams have done this week, going 6-2 and beating Comet and drawing Uranus and Monk.
Yeah, they've done what they needed to do to get themselves into that tie top with Overkill. Slightly worse goal difference, but normally that doesn't matter too much. It's those individual game wins. The series wins don't matter. The goal differences don't matter. It's the series wins, or the game wins that are what matter. 6-2, a great way to start. A sweep over Comet, who haven't had the greatest start despite their 4th place prediction. So yeah, good way to start off with the Custard Creams. They got that team name changed just for them, because most of their players have come out from the Custard Creams in Challenger last season, so they've got the name changed, they've got the results down. It's a great start for them.
Yeah, and talking of great starts, we see the table for Glacis, Hydra and Safari, and Toxin leading the top. But Boopy, who do you expect to be around and about, or do you think this could look like the table throughout the season?
I mean, obviously, I have to mention Arena Tribe. I think they still are a really, really solid team. Coming into week one, they didn't have the best performances. I do believe they had some mentality issues in their roster, which kind of held them back in week one, and a few poor results to show for it. Obviously, being swept by Hydra 4-0. They also drawed 2-2 with Safari, and yeah, you can kind of tell from the goal difference that they haven't had the best week. They've let 23 goals in this week, and they've only scored 13. So it's just kind of silly mistakes and maybe a few whiffs, just letting 3 goals in. But I definitely expect Arena Tribe still to be a top contender and to start climbing their way back up the table.
Do you think the goals against could play a part in this? Because if we look at the top 4 compared to the bottom 4, like there's not really any close 2 games this week. Like the goals against for the top 4 are so much cleaner than the bottom 4. Do you think the bottom 4 teams will be looking to improve the defenses over the coming weeks?
Absolutely, I think they will, and I think they should, because obviously they're not scoring a lot of goals at the moment, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you do lock down your defense, you don't need to score a lot of goals. You just need to take the chances you get and just make sure that nothing finds the back of your net. So I think if they do work on their defense and make sure they're not letting those simple mistakes, kind of double commits, third man pushing up too far, letting a free goal in, those sort of simple mistakes that kind of do appear in week one, because a lot of these rosters are new. They haven't played with each other for a very long time. And I think once they clean up those kind of simple rotational mistakes, then they will, start finding their way slowly up the table.
Boopy casually describing any team that I've played on since season 4, just attack and who cares about defending? But as we move on to the Ignis standings in minor, Monk, what can you tell us about this one?
Well, we do see Overkill and Custard Creams at the top. Overkill, as you say, you can only beat what's put in front of you. And those sort of teams that are maybe towards the bottom end, those are the teams you need to be beating and having consistent results against to make sure that you can finish at the top. And worry about the better teams later. As long as you're getting the results that you need, you should always have a strong chance. And that's exactly what Overkill have done. But towards the other end, we see Forge and Aster, those journeymen in the Comet, going 2-6 and having the worst goal differences in this side of the tier. So they're going to be wanting to step it up, as you say, improving their defense. Because, anyone over 20 goals against at the moment here in this minor tier is in the bottom 4. So, yeah, all of them will be wanting to look to step it up and make sure that they can amend their errors, kick on in the rest of the season, and try and get back into one of those playoff spots.
Yeah, I'm sure Comet will be disappointed this week. They were predicted 4th and they found themselves bottom. There was high hopes for Hoggy in that roster, but not to be just yet. We'll look at them. Go on.
A little interesting thing as well for Comet. Actually, this week they didn't play Hoggy. I know my minor team, especially when they did play against Comet, they said Hoggy is one of the best players in minor, and he's really carrying that team. Not necessarily, obviously, the only reason they're winning games, but he wasn't actually on the field this week, and maybe that is a reason for the poor results. But briefly touching on those as well. They didn't have the easiest week as well. They faced off against Sorcerers, which respectively they did take a 2-2 against. Predicted first Sorcerers, they find themselves third, and they did have a little bit of an unfortunate 4-0 result against Custard Creams, but maybe Custard Creams are a better team than we actually thought they were in the start.
Yeah, and we'll move to Major. And Bupu, we'll continue with you. What can you tell us about Glacies?
Well, I have already mentioned the 2 other teams that got 8-0 weeks. I have to mention Gladiators as well. Wonderful stuff from them. A lovely 8-0 week. And I've been mentioning goal difference a lot, and I have to mention it here. 35 goals for Gladiators this week, and only 11 against. So that puts their goal difference at 24, which is the highest in the whole of RSC in this week 1. So really strong performance from them. As well as that, Zulu, a little bit of a shocker, did get predicted 5th, but they find themselves 2nd at the moment. Had a little bit of an easy week, kind of. They played against Firefox and they played against Thanatos, who are predicted 6th and 8th. But still a respectable scoreline from them, and they find themselves, top 2.
Yeah, Zulu did win the preseason tournament. However, they did play 2 16-60s. One of them is now cut. But moving back onto Gladiators, we mustn't forget they were unbeaten throughout league play last season, and they've got 50% of the same roster. Evoke and Cans probably should have seen themselves in Elite, maybe performance-based MMR rises in the future. Because them 2 are on the same team. It's looking like a very strong team again. However, this time they've got 2 low players with them. We'll see how that continues into the future weeks. But as we move on to Ignis, Monk, what games stood out for you this week?
So many tight games. No sweeps in this side of the tier. So yeah, much closer. 4 draws, 4 3-1s, and Bladesmiths going up against the Jammy Dodgers and the Saturnia could only get that 4-4 and couldn't get any wins on the board. So it's an interesting start for them with those 2 draws, and they find themselves in the middle of the tier despite being predicted first. We say we saw that Wilfie, Sato, and Duck were going to do maybe slightly better as a roster, but they're maybe taking it slightly more casually and slightly more just for the fun of it. And 2 draws against these teams, it might not be enough when you go into the rest of the season, and they'll be trying to step it up later on.
Yeah, 100%. That roster has a lot of potential, but knowing Sato, they'll probably be memeing in comms. So looking forward to seeing how they do in the future. Are there any other teams that stood out for you this week?
Well, Meteor, they are top of the tier, and they got their sweep in that cross-conference game against the Venom. They'll be very, very pleased with that one. And in their other match, they, of course, beat out if I could find them. Are they? Am I blind, or are they just not here? No, they're here. They beat the Necromancers, of course. Yes, 3-1. So 2 great results for them. 2 teams that were predicted pretty much top half, and yeah, I think they'll take confidence from that being top of the tier. And yeah, I think they could be one to look out for in the rest of the season.
Yeah, with all these franchise logos, I think we need to go back to season 4 where we had 6 teams per tier or 4 teams per tier. Much easier back then. But yeah, as we spoke about Meteor and Venom, Venom did lose Swaces this week. The team wasn't working after that game, so we decided to part ways. So Venom will be looking to bounce back from this one next week. As we head into the Glacis table, and as we can see, Venom 6th, but any other teams other than Gladiators and Zulu that stand out to you?
I think you have to talk about the Firefox in this one. They are 7th, not at the very bottom, but their team has just had a little bit of a collapse here as they go into week 2 with only 1 player, the GM Asterix, looking for 3 more players as they've had to cut all 3, and it's going to be a big turnaround for them here if they are to kick on, because all the other teams have had some amount of preseason experience. They've got some amount of scrims and now matches after week 1 going into it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I don't think any other team in the whole of the league has changed this much. Maybe except Boopy's team Saturnia, but we don't talk about that.
we don't mention that one.
Yeah, Boopy just does all this in pre-season and then in week 1 as well. But yeah, kudos to Asterix though. The sign of a good GM is noticing when something isn't right and fixing it as soon as possible, and he's done that in week 1, quite like Duck did with Valhalla in season 6 when they went 0-8, and they did find themselves 1 game off making playoffs on goal difference. So hopefully Asterix is putting this right straight away. But we head into Ignis now, and Boopy. Who are the surprise packages for you?
Well, in Ignis, I have to mention Overtake and Anju. 2 rosters that I kind of picked out myself as quite strong teams. Overtake didn't have the best results in preseason, but they have had a little bit of a roster change. And they do have Hazard as a sub, one of the lowest CMV players, which kind of allows a lot of space for J Hills and 2 other quite high MMR players on that roster. And they've had a little rework, and it's worked really well for them. They found themselves second in the table, obviously 30 goals scored as well. So they really can score some goals. And Anju, I do really look at as a strong roster. They were predicted 8th, but they find themselves 4th. And as you mentioned earlier, with the kind of ties and the closeness of the table, we have that here as well in Ignis. We have 3 teams, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, all on 5-3. So interesting stuff. A very, very tight conference.
Yeah, I must say I was surprised that Andrew, me and Axlos, I think it was, who did Major, just didn't see this team having any chemistry, and it's worked out. Thane actually DM'd me earlier saying if we had had the ball chasing replays for our second series, the goal difference would have been much, much higher. So that leads me to believe that they performed well in the series that they didn't have replays for. But yeah, Overtake definitely stepping up. J Hill's really peaking since playing for me last season, which is good to see. But we will head to the Elite Week 1 results, and Monk, I'll come to you. What results stood out for you?
Once again, we had a few shocks in store for us here, but we'll go on to the Diamond Dust versus the Hades. They were 2 of the higher teams. Hades got into that preseason final to get themselves predicted 3rd, and Diamond Dust were predicted 2nd. So proved out to be a good match in the end, as you would have liked to think from a top of the table clash, and that was certainly one to watch. Another one is the Rias Legion, because the results just come in tonight is that they've swept another team. So on top of that sweep against Carnage, who are certainly no easy feat, they now find themselves, I think, 6 wins clear or something at the top with that result tonight. So Rias Legion definitely ones to watch, and yeah, they'll be looking to try and continue on their early season form.
Yeah, we do have some results rolling in, as you say that. We've got Rias Legion 4, Dogon 0, Nocturne 2, Oracles 2, Titan 3, Carnage 1, literally just been posted. In Premier, we have Luna Esports 2, Vibing 2. In Challenger, we have Yahoo 2, Spark 2. What a result for Spark's Challenger team. I did not see that coming. And in Prospect, we have Bing 2, Tartaros 2. Very close games this week so far. But, Boopy, what results stood out for you in Elite Week 1?
I mean, I have to mention Phoenix. They've had such a good week, a 6-2 week. I talk about predictions a lot, but predicted ninth, find themselves second at the moment, and really good stuff from them. Yeah, they did take a 3-1 win against Chianina, a roster that I actually rated quite highly, especially with the picking up of motion, and it's definitely gone a few tiers above, and a very strong roster, and also beating out Phoenix beating out Oracles as well, a team kind of predicted second place, who now finds themselves eighth, quite low to the bottom of that table. But Phoenix, very good results, but it's a little bit interesting all round in Elite. We have Asteroid in fourth; they were predicted seventh, and Chianina, well, not too surprising, but predicted eighth, and they find themselves in seventh. But yeah, quite interesting stuff.
Yeah, we'll head to the Elite Glacis standings. Obviously, Rias Legion already 6-2, and they've just swept Titan also on 5-3. They've just won 3-1. But what else can you tell us about these standings, Monk?
Well, Hades, despite that draw against Diamond Dust, one of the better teams, they only went 3-5 with that other series loss. So it's a bit of a dodgy start from them after getting second in the preseason tournament and being predicted third. So, -3 goal difference, -2 game differential. They'll want to try and better that in week 2. Other teams to look for, I think, are Carnage. Getting swept and sweeping. Very, very back and forth for them, and losing again here tonight against Titan, despite being predicted first. So they'll be looking to try and improve on this as well, because when you are predicted first, maybe it's that little bit of added extra pressure against these teams that are meant to be so-called lower rated than you. So they've had some struggles here early on.
Yeah, they did have illness last week with a unit, and we ended up playing a major. But I'm just looking at the ball chasing, and the full team are out tonight, and they did not score in game 2, 3, or 4. So
Oof.
maybe need an attacking change, maybe.
Could be.
But yeah, we'll head over to Glacis. Sorry, Ignis. And Nocturne. Now, we got a lot of stick for putting these first from their own team. And there was a reason we did this, wasn't there, Bam? Because they won it last season. And they didn't turn up to the preseason tournament. Maybe trying to hustle the teams that they're playing into thinking, oh, they're not going to turn up. But look at that goal difference in week 1.
Yeah, far and away top of the tier. Well, at least in terms of goal difference above Phoenix, and then wins over IOV and Asteroid and Overwatch. So, it's still very close to the top. Only 2 wins between 6th and 1st, but they definitely deserve their spot at the top. First last season, first starting it out here, and they have fallen to a draw against the Oracles tonight, who are down and languishing in 8th. So they certainly have weaknesses, but they should still be one of the stronger teams going into these. And despite those, of course, the forfeits in the preseason, just trying to trick everyone into not believing in them.
Yeah, and Boopy, you mentioned Phoenix earlier, and I'm really impressed with them. I know Ren is out for a point to prove against us for putting him so low after being the 2-time in RSC. Has that surprised you being so high?
Yeah, I mean, I know obviously Ren, what a reputation he has. Brad RL, obviously, he was on Olympus last season. They also came second. I'm not too familiar with the Snake or Sea Enemies, but yeah, I didn't really expect them to be so high on the table, but the results they've had have really been really good results, and they haven't been against easy teams as well. They have 3-1-2 kind of difficult teams, and respectively, they kind of have earned their spot.
Yeah, and so far, Jaffa Cakes as well. They are the only team that's took games off Rias Legion so far, getting a 2-2 draw in cross conference. So they are 4-4, but could be a solid week for them with the roster that they've got. But we will move on to Premier, and I think this is Monk's expertise. So, Monk, what can you tell us about the results from week 1? There was literally no sweeps whatsoever.
Yeah, the only tier with no sweeps. It looks so small in comparison to the rest, but the less matches there are, the more they matter individually. And I think one of the really, really big ones is that bottom of the table, according to the predictions, Overburn is just null out with a point to prove against the RSC regulars from the Overburn and winning that 3-1. Of course, no sweep because there were no sweeps, but yeah, really well done. Couldn't get the sweep in that 4th game. The Overburn did win that one after a really, really great goal from Gom, but still a lightning quick start from them, and they do go tied top.
Yeah, and Boopy, what games did you watch this week? I think you casted over one yesterday.
I may potentially have done casted over one yesterday. Vibing versus Vulcan. Vibing, I'd argue, fan favorites. Definitely my favorites for this tier, and they came out looking very, very strong. The pressure they put on Vulcan was just immense. They had Vulcan really locked down in their half for a long period of time, but that series just came down to Power Shot just being that star player. I think his shooting accuracy we may be seeing later on, but insane shooting accuracy from him, and every chance he really had, he took. And it did result in that 3-1. I did really expect Vibing to be that one team that gets the 4-0, puts themselves at the top of the table, but Vulcan just played it really well. They locked down their defense, made sure that not many chances were going in, despite the just insane pressure and the plays that Vibing were making. And respectively, they really did deserve that game, and they find themselves quite low on the table. They find themselves 8th, but they are definitely a team I predict to see clawing their way back up the table. But as we mentioned, clawing the way back up the table, something interesting to note about this tier compared to the other ones, there is obviously only one game a week. So the games matter that little bit more. It is more difficult to claw your way back up because in the other tiers, you have 2 results and you can get more games in each week. But in this one, that's just not the case.
Yep, 1 game a week. Look how close the results were this week, and that's how the table looks. 3 1s and 2 2s. And Lunar Esports and Vibing as well, just 2-2'd as well. So the highest the team is so far is 5-3 with Vibing and Lunar. As we look at the standings now from week 1. And Monk, talk me through the table.
Yeah, that top 4 is according to how we predicted it. 3 of the teams that we thought would be in the higher end did get that series win, but the one outlier is of course Null. Predicted bottom, but got that early win, and it's sort of that goal difference is not really going to matter. So, well, it might actually matter more in this tier because there are less wins, so there's maybe a slightly higher likelihood of a tied win score. But it's so close. Of course, Vibe and going on to 5 with Luna Esports, so there's now 4 wins between everyone. But it could be really, really close coming up to the end of the table, and teams like Finale and Sick, their Warlocks in 7th could be really fighting it out for those last sort of spots. The top 6 in this Premier tier will get playoffs, and the top 4 get the upper bracket. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it will play out.
Yeah, and guess what, guys?
Ooh.
We actually have a working week 2 schedule for Premier.
Oh my word!
Oh, let's go!
Incredible.
So, talk me through the games this week. Obviously, we've already seen Luna versus Vibe.
Well,
you go. Okay, I'll go.
Oh, no, what's going on?
You can go. Here we go.
Okay, well, yeah, well,
it's gonna be great.
There's something I wanted to reiterate. I mean, obviously, one I'm really excited for is Vulcan versus Overburn. Vulcan predicted 7th, Overburn predicted 8th, so that they are very closely predicted. not that that matters too much. And Vulcan, obviously, from what I saw from that vibing game, looked really strong. And I think that they really need to get a very good result in that game to just claw their way back up that table, because I do see them being, one of the top 4, one of the top 5 teams at the moment, but finding themselves down in 8th, they really need to kind of pull off a madness in that one. But another match I just have to talk about is Null versus Finale. I thought it was Flame. My bad. I thought it was Null versus Flame. That would have been a insane match. But Barman, I'll let you take over.
Another match that might be interesting on Wednesday is Oreos versus Opera GX. Oreos struggled in their first game against Flame, and Opera GX failed to punch down below their weight, well, according to the predictions, against Finale, and fell to a draw. So it's a great chance for Opera GX to show that they can stand it at the top of this tier and get their first win of the season on the board. And it's going to be a really tough one for Oreos if they are to try and get their season off to a slightly better start and get their first win, because Opera GX, they're the better known players in this tier in lower league, Blackstrike and King JS. It's going to be a tough one, but if Oreos can pull off a result here against that Opera GX side, then it's going to be a quite the turnaround from them.
Yeah,
well,
definitely. I'll just add on to Null versus Finale that Bupu was initially going to talk about before he thought it was Flame. Like we said, Null the surprise package in week 1. Finale were the predicted dark horses as well, and Razor has got a really good roster there, so I think this could be one of the games of the week. Not sure whether it's going to be on stream yet. Obviously, we've not got the stream polls up until after this cast. Make sure you go and vote on them. But yeah, I think that's one game that we could pick out to be potentially good as well.
They're also good.
Yeah, they're also good. 2K plus. But we do move on to the franchise standings, and I don't want Boopy's head to go too far through his camera, so Monk, I'll let you start off this one.
So many franchises, all 18 in one table. But we do have our early leaders, and it is indeed Boopy's AGMing franchise. It's System of Solaris at that top of 26, but you only go 4 wins down, and you're already halfway down the table to Waifu Fan Club and Fort Templar, so it's really, really close, really, really early doors to be predicting anyone, but there's a slightly familiar face at the bottom, isn't there, Arch?
Yeah, no. Paul said you. He said he wanted to get a better results this week, and it's not good when your prospects go into the first game of Season 8 for any tier and forfeit the first game. They do find themselves bottom with 10 wins, I think that is. And then Ox, Fearless, and Confectionery pulling up the rear. But I think this is the lowest I've ever been as well in the franchise standings. It's not good for me. So a slow start, but I mean, it's so close between the top 10 as well. It's only 5 wins at the end of the day, and it's week 1, so 40 games per week and all to play for. But now we have our special guest. And
here he comes.
Yes, let's drag him in. If I can find which room he's in. There we go. And here he is. It's let's get it on the stream. It's Mr. Swift, a new player to RSC this season. Joined my franchise, and he is now a mod and the captain. So welcome, Swift.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
How are you doing tonight?
A bit shaky. It's my first time being on a stream, but just came off some scrims, did well. I'm pretty happy. Yourself?
How did it go? Did you win?
I think you played 5 or 6 matches and won all of them but 1. So.
Okay. Losing 1 is not acceptable. You cut.
Understandable.
The only way to treat new players.
Yeah.
We're looking for a new guest.
Yeah, Wolfie's got it right. No arch cut.
21 and 19, not good enough.
So I wanted to get you on tonight just for a new player's perspective. Obviously, you're very active in the chat. You DM'd me a lot through preseason. Obviously, I lined you up to play for me, and I made sure that I got you. So I just want to see. First question is, what's it like to join the RSC, and have you enjoyed the interactions that you've found so far?
I mean, I think it's my first time being part of a community so big and so welcoming at the same time. You join different Discord servers, 2,000, 3,000 people. Everybody's very tightly knit. You can't really make friends as easily. You come in here and everybody's so welcoming. Everyone's so, kind to you, get you involved. It's a very nice change. And being part of something that's so big as well, being able to make a difference in your team or even in the server if you're staff, it's quite nice.
Yep. So you were very active from the start, like I said, and you made it quite clear that you'd be interested in like captaincy and getting on staff. What made you decide that? What made you want to be a mod for such a big server?
I think it's kind of built into me, I suppose. I like helping out. At the end of the day, I like being able to make a difference. Like I just said, I wouldn't say it's in my blood, but I like making people happy and seeing the place grow, especially when I know I'm part of it. It puts a smile on my face, and if I'm helping other people, then I'm helping myself at the end of the day.
He's like a young me. He's bringing the tears to the eye.
He just doesn't talk and spam as much.
Wow. I don't think anyone can.
Boopy mid sentence. Last question from me before I pass you on to these guys. I'm sure Boopy could talk to you for the next half an hour.
You already know.
What are your goals for the season on Scone? There's only one right answer here.
Yeah, to get above 7th, obviously.
7th, that's good. That's what I aim for.
Good start.
I think you know the answer. Win, obviously. So, I'm coming for you. Who else?
Ooh,
Fawn, I'm coming for
Viking
you.
talk.
How do you
Who
bounce
else?
back
Wait.
from the loss to Yahoo?
Quite easily, that's how.
I like the confidence.
Coaching with Boopy. We got this. I'm confident. It's only the first week. Things can happen.
Yeah, 100%. I will pass you on to Barman.
Well, we've asked you about your introduction to RSC and your start, but in terms of the league itself and the way it plays out, how do you feel about our league structure? We do the set of 4 games, sorry, and instead of the best of 5, which is a bit unusual, and we have the 2 conferences and cross conference every week now. So how do you feel about the overall league structure?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was a bit confusing to begin with. Kairu actually got me involved here to begin with. I was looking to get into Rocket League, and he got me here. So when I saw how it worked, it was a bit. Cause I'm used to Premier League, for example. I'm used to that sort of structure, and it isn't so much different, but it put me off a bit. But now I'm playing in it, it's just as simple. The 4 games aren't an issue. Draw, win, loss. It's easy, and I think I prefer it honestly. It's comfortable. I think it's the best way to describe it. It's a comfortable way of playing.
Yeah, and do you think it makes those having the 2 conferences and having those limited matches against them up until the playoffs, you think it makes them feel a bit more special? You sort of have to wonder who from this other side is going to be your sort of nemesis over the season, or who you'd have to look out for in that final day of the season on those playoffs.
Oh, 100%. It's almost like building up to like the final boss of something. I already know who our nemesis will be in my head, and I can see Boopy smiling.
I'm always smiling when you're talking.
I know.
Whoa.
But I think the idea of 2 conferences is very fun. I think being able to play one team each time. How does it work again? Sorry, is it you play one team set like from the other conference, or you play one? Sorry, what is it? One team. I can't get my words out. How does the cross conference matches work? Can't played one yet.
you get one match against one team and another match against another team over the 9 weeks.
Okay, that's easy enough. Yep.
2 matches.
Yeah,
That's all you get.
a few people still don't realize this until they actually schedule
Yeah.
against them. So basically, because there was only 9 teams this season in each franchise, like I personally wasn't for this initially because of the odd number, but it worked. We got it working, and you basically one team per week plays a cross conference game, and then you'll play one in like another 3 or 4 weeks time. So you've always got 2 cross conference games throughout every week throughout the season.
That sounds good to me. I can't wait to wear 4-row style if we do play them. It'll be quite
Well,
fun.
yeah, I will
Yeah.
pass it over to Boopy now.
Oh
Good
wow!
It's your time to shine.
Well, it's my time to shine. Well, coming into this, there was one thing I wanted to say to start off with, but a new question's popped into my head, and I have to ask it. So
Here we go.
Swift, who's your favorite coach in RSC?
Ooh.
Who gave Boopy power?
Ooh. So
Can we ban him?
Good luck with the
oh,
stream.
not to get
Yeah.
hopes up. It's not you. It's not you.
Whoa,
I'll probably have
the
to say.
backfire.
Probably have to say Kairu, maybe. I think Kairu's a pretty good coach. No, he's just DM me on the side of the screen. Axnos has given me a lot of coaching, to be completely honest. Axnos has given me a lot of coaching, but that's from probably quantity. The only other coach I've had experience from is what's his Swacers. That's it, Swacers. So it's still tough right now. I'm waiting for Boopy's coaching session. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I think he's gonna do well.
It's good. I've got competition. I love having competition. Also, Axlos, a good friend of mine. So, vouch. Also, I wanted to welcome you, friendly, to the mod committee. It's a pleasure to share a committee with you. It's gonna be great fun. And
That's sweet.
oh, yeah. I'm not really sure of any other questions.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add, Swift, before you go?
Not really. Just thanks for having me. Honestly, I wasn't expecting this at all. Oh, and Kairu, DM me. Kairu Heart. There you go. That part as well.
Okay,
Nice.
thanks for joining us, Swift. It's been nice to get a new player on, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
Glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
See you later.
See you
See you
later,
later,
mate.
boys.
See ya.
Okay, and that was our guest for the week. Next week, I think we've got Skies or Keza, GMing for Alias Academy, player for 3 or 4 seasons. So looking forward to that one. But it's the part of the show now where we start giving the awards out. So we now have the clip of the week, the weekly awards, and the fantasy league winner. So should we dive straight into the clip of the week?
Clip of the week. First one of the season.
Okay, we'll play the montage now, and then we'll put a poll up and then rewatch. And there we have it, guys. That was the clip of the week. I'm going to put the poll up now. You've got 2 minutes to vote on this one. So it is between goal 1, Prospect Exelon versus Gemini Storm. Goal 2, Major Bladesmiths versus Jammy Dodgers. Goal 3, Meteor versus Venom. Goal 4, Gladiators versus Firefox. I don't know what that goal mouse scramble was, but it happened. Goal 5 is Rias Legion versus Carnage. So you've got 2 minutes to vote. And yeah, Boopy, what goal did you like?
Well, I would have to say my top 2 are goal 2 and goal 3. Goal 4 obviously being quite similar, but again, just a mess on the goal line. Goal 5 was nice, but I think the major ones were a little bit better, and goal 5 is a tier above. So I think definitely my favourites are goal 2 and 3.
What about you, Monk? I know you had problems watching a little bit of it, but maybe you caught 1 or 2.
Well, just good to see Prospect getting on the board. Unfortunately, they didn't get to under any of the streams last week because they just didn't happen to line up or get enough votes. But they've found themselves some representation in the clip of the week, so good to see them on there. It's not always that they get someone on, but fair play to them. They've got a good goal, and yeah, I think I have to agree. Some of those flippery sets, that one in that goal 3 was really, really good, and that's probably gonna have to be my winner.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the goal 1 for a Prospect. I think it was a good goal for that tier, but yeah, I think I think goal 2 was fantastic, and goal 5 was good for Rias Legion as well. I'm not going to say the names right now because yeah, we only mention it after they've won. But you do have a few seconds left before the results are in, and we do have a winner. And with 16 votes, it is Wolfie at the Bladesmiths versus Jammy Dodgers. So Wolfie, the resident clip hitter, doesn't do very well in league play, but can definitely hit clips each season. So there we have it, goal 2. Just waiting for his roast in the chat. We will watch that again, just so you can see it.
Yeah, there you go.
And there we have it, guys. Wolfie was the winner with goal number 2, and for Bladesmiths. Unfortunately, we don't have a fail of the week this week. I don't know if anyone has forgot that it's up or the form's in the server, but yeah, there was no submissions this week. I do remember seeing an open net miss on one of the first streams as well, and I was too lazy to clip it myself because I do enough work. So let's get straight into the weekly awards, and Monk, I need your hype for this one.
Let's hope that the hotspot can survive it. We move into Prospect, our first tier of the week, our first awards all season in this week number 1, and we start off with our MVP as always, And this time it is Jay of the Tartarus getting 500 and something points per game. Then we have the finisher. It's Yannick from MG, 1.5 goals per game. The admin himself will indeed get another category here with the striker and a great shooting percent accuracy along with his goals. It's Yannick, that man again. Then we go to playmaker. Now it's Ozarn, a whole assist per game, beating the other two on tiebreakers. And then finally it's our saviour. It's Banana Peels GG. Tartarus actually getting 2 men on there despite going, not having a great first week. Those were your prospect players of the week. We'll move into Challenger now. Going back to the MVP, this time it's Tanny, and he did very, very well to get that MVP with his very cool glasses on his car. Then we go to finisher. It's Revised Neil with 2 goals per game, finishing above Tanny. He couldn't quite get that one as well. But Neil does indeed get himself 2, as he gets 72% shooting accuracy to get the striker acclaim. Then it's the playmaker B-Shake, predicted low, finished high, 1.5 assists per game. Great performance from him in his classic endpoint octane. And then finally, it's the Portuguese stats savior himself. It's Andre, 2.55533 saves per game. I don't know, a lot of saves. Third tier coming up, it's Minor. Now in the bottom half, because Premier's taken it down to that, no longer the middle tier, but when we go to the MVP, it's Poner. He got a 500 and something points per game and brings out the Monsoon. Then it's the finisher. It's Grog from the Montbelliard with 1.88 goals per game. Third up, it's Vax with the striker, 66% shooting accuracy. Then he gets it again, this time for the assists with 2 per game. And finally, it's that saviour. It's Infinity from the Arena Tribe with 2.5 saves per game. On to the upper half of the league, into Major, the Green Boys themselves. First up, it's the MVP Spartax. In his Cloud9 Octane, it's 560 points per game. Then he's on again, and again, getting both the finisher and the striker awards with 2.5 goals per game and 56% shooting accuracy. Fourth, it's Playmaker. It's the lovely Cans, 1.5 assists per game, continuing on with Fort Templar as they did with Quantum last season. Then fifth in this tier will be your saviour Paul, and he got 2.67 saves per game. Into the prize pool tiers now. This is where you need to perform the best to get the results that you want, and we had some really, really great performances all week long from all players, but the standout man was indeed Jordy Unknown, getting 3 awards this week. First the MVP, then the finisher, and then the striker with 60% shooting actually. Great stuff all round from him. Then it's that playmaker, it's JSW from the Jaffa Cakes with 1.15 assists per game. And then one more player, it is the saviour, it is Motion, and he had 2.5 saves per game. Well done to all of those players, but we have one more tier, and it's the tippity top. It is the Premier players. And there was only one man that was getting that point of the game award for the MVP. 200, almost 200 clear of his teammate Sebadam. It's Toxic getting the MVP and the finisher for himself with 2 goals per game there as well. Then the striker, it's Polar Shot of the Vulcan with 85% shooting. Actually, really, really good stuff from him despite going down to a loss. Tried to save his team but couldn't quite do it. Then it's the playmaker Sebadam. Didn't get the MVP award, but he will get the assists. All of them for Toxic, presumably, considering how many goals he scored. He got 1.5 assists per game. Then finally, our last player before the even more prestige award, it is Kiri, and he got 3.25 saves per game. We'll move into our all-new graphic here. First time for everything with all 6 tiers on, and they each get their own stats. You get a little FIFA card. Exciting update here. And as we go into it, it will indeed be 6 great players. They were the best in their tiers. If we go from the bottom up, in prospect, it was Yannick from MG. From the third player was Iponer, and he was from the Overkill. He got 500 points per game, more than either the Challenger or the prospect players. So great stuff. And then we go to Major, and it's Jay Hills from the Overtake. He did so well for his team, and they're trying to start it off well. Then it was Jordy Unknown from the Nocturne. They are top at the moment, and they're looking like they'll continue on with it if Jordy Unknown is playing this well. 540 points per game for him. Then finally, our top tier, our top player in this week, number 1. It was from the Ignite franchise, from Team Flame. Toxic, well done to you. You get the Premier Team of the Week award.
Yep, well done to everyone on that graphic and everyone on the players of the week as well. But moving on to our final section, and it's new for this season, thanks to Yannick's new committee, and it is the Fantasy League standings. And obviously, it is a trial for staff, players, and former staff. And we are trialing Elite and Premier right now. So if you aren't involved, go to the Fantasy League category in the server and you can still sign up. You'll just have to catch up on points to everyone at the end of the day. But yeah, if you want to go through the standings, Monk. Maybe. Oh, there we go. I thought we'd lost you then. Oh, okay. All right. I forgot to add stream chat. There we go. Go on, Beepy. Okay. Right. Yeah, I'm
I'm trying my
transitioning
best.
now. Right. Let's see if they can hear you now.
Oh, third time lucky. And,
Hopefully. There we go. Did we?
obviously,
Well,
sorry about that.
Just had to transition it for the chat to work. My bad.
I don't know what you're talking about. We just took a short break there, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are now back.
Here we go.
And again, as I have never said before, Fantasy League standings, the new thing in RSCast. Just briefly running through the elite managers of the week. Axelos coming in first with 259.5 this week, and then Vector coming in second, and Steb coming in third. Players of the week, Wizard wasn't very happy. He did not make it on that graphic, but it's fine, Wizard. You're here. You're here. Position number one, Wizard, player of the week. And then we have Vladimir, number two, tied in with I'm Stadium 93, also coming in at number two. And again, manager standings at the bottom. We have Axos first, Vector second, Step third. And moving on over to the Premier, managers of the week, we have Angelo with a pretty solid lead there in 172. J Hill's coming in second, followed by Kebabs in third. And player number one, Toxic, followed by Aper. I'm very sorry. Followed by Sebadam. And yeah, again, as we were saying, manager standings, Angelo coming in first, J Hills in second, and Kebabs, whatever he wants to be called, in third.
Yeah, and there we have it. Sorry about that last screen. We only added it like 10 minutes prior to going live. I have been in work all day, so. But our final thing this tonight is an announcement that we haven't told anyone yet. Only me and Barn know this, and the other admins, obviously. So,
It's a big one.
is everyone ready for this announcement? I want to
Are you
see
ready?
some hype in the chat.
Well, personally, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm very excited and I'm definitely ready. I'm not sure about everyone else in the team.
Okay, so there's been an increase from 80 teams to 100 this season, and we looked at the standings the other day and we thought, you know what, there's not enough teams in playoffs. So what we thought was the cross-conference play-ins that everyone likes so much, 3rd to 6th now reach the cross-conference play-ins. There will be a cross-conference semi-final and then a cross-conference final. So that means 4 extra games per tier, semi-finalists and finalists, and the 2 winners of the finals will go to the lower bracket. So there you have it. 1st and 2nd reach the upper bracket. The 3rd to 6th will play off in a semi-final and final, and then the 2 winners of that will reach the lower bracket. That is for Prospect to Elite. And yes,
Massive.
Wolfie, you finally get your wish for more teams in playoffs. Not quite 100% of the teams, though, like your wildcard suggestions.
24-hour stream.
This is the first time we've told anyone. I'm yet to post the dates, but that will be up within the next 2 to 3 days. It just had a lot of work going on. So, yeah. There we go. More teams in the cross-conference play-ins. How do you feel about that, Boopy? You didn't know anything about it.
Well, I've got 2 sides to that. Obviously, I really wanted to get a lot of teams in playoffs this season, and it's made it easier. But then, it's made it easier. So the challenge is not as difficult. You
can't underestimate the 6th place teams as 3rd place though anymore. It's a one-off game.
Okay. It is a one-off game. It's scary stuff. I think it will be very good, especially for the Twitch stream as well. A lot more games, a lot more casting, a lot more Rocket League. So yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, and we may as well give him a little teaser of what's coming as well, Bam, with what Friday's making as well with the sheets. I think we should mention our little trial. Another RSC mini game.
Another mini game. Yeah, we got one announcement here. We got another, a slightly smaller announcement. Not as many, not going to be more teams making playoffs, but if you want more mini games to play like Fantasy League within the RC, and you think you know a thing or two about some of those tiers in the RC and some of these teams and players, and maybe stick a prediction or 2 in the chat, because I think Friday will have something sorted for it soon enough.
Yeah, he definitely will. He showed me the sheet that he's building last night, and we should have a trial ready to go for around week 3 or 4. It will consist of, like Fantasy League, we'll have Elite and Premier, and then we will open it up next season to all the tiers. I'm very excited about this as well. The sheet looks really good. There's around 5 or 6 of us already trialing it in the League discussion channel. I think there's me, QX, Barm, Potter, Wolfie, and Wolfie's got 4 out of 5 this week in Premier, so very well done to him.
Yep.
But yeah, we will be doing 3 points for a correct score and 1 point for a correct result. So look out for that when it's released in the categories in the RSC. But yeah, that's your 2 announcements for tonight. The first time we've spoke about them. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. And yeah, what about you? BP, Barmanitan, you got any closing statements?
Well, I do have to say, a lot of the time when I'm casting, the predictions I make actually come true. So I cannot wait to get on this game. And all I'm saying is bring it on. Bring it on the challenge.
Yeah. I'll add on, those extra teams in the playoffs means that 3rd place has an extra game to go through. So it makes those top 2 spots in each conference all the more desirable and all the more valuable, all the more rewarding. So make sure you get yourselves fighting for those top 2 spots, because it's going to be such a task to try and beat all 3 of the other teams in those cross-conference play-ins.
Yeah, 100%. All the more harder, and I'm looking forward to having some possibly lower teams in league play causing some more upsets in the RSC. And on that bombshell, we are out for tonight. And it's been Archeon, Barmanitan, and Boopy. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, one last
See you
thing.
next week. Oh.
RSCast will be Tuesday next week. I am taking my patients to Blackpool for work. Seeing the Blackpool lights. So yeah,
Wow.
we'll be on Tuesday next week. So yeah, thanks for watching and
Just
see
your
you next week.
calendars.
Yeah.
See you, everyone.
See you.